Hi everyone, this is Tina from Rehatch Designs, and this is part 2 of making a junk journal with bands. So we're gonna try and finish up making the cover at least today, and then we might possibly have to extend sewing in the signatures and picking out your papers for part 3. Anyway, thanks for joining me, and thanks for the likes and the people subscribing. But I promise I'm going to try and get a little better at this and be a little bit more organized and have a plan. I want to apologize yesterday for uploading a video with the orientation wrong. I was kind of in a hurry and I uploaded it and didn't really pay a lot of attention. So I'll try not to do that again. And I reloaded it and it's in there right. So if you started watching it before and then couldn't stand it, that I've redone it. Anyway, so if you have not seen part 1, I suggest that you do that. And that's making an easy junk journal with bands. And this is part 2. Yesterday we took an old book and we gutted it, took the pages out, and then we put paper on it and decorated it. We put tie back in the middle in the inside, and then we put tie back on the outside, and then I put a little bit of this burlap on the outside, just mainly for decorating, and also it does help structurally. After that, I went ahead and did a few things ahead of time because I just figured we didn't really, need to go through that process. I decoupaged, put some decoupage on the inside of the book because this was just paper and I wanted to have something on there. And then I decoupaged the outside just to seal it. I put 2 of the eyelets in there. That way, you wouldn't have to watch me do all 4. And I marked it. And I'm going to go through the process now of showing you how to do that, because that would be the next step. I didn't think that everyone needed me to see how to put decoupage on a book cover. So anyway, that's really the only thing I did ahead, but we're going to repeat these processes here. Our spine is 1 inch, so what we want to do is we're going to have 2 signatures. So your bands are going to basically go like this through these. So you have to have 2 of them. And so what we're going to do is we're going to go ahead and and I do this on the inside this way. Like if there's an extra mark like this, I kind of marked off in the wrong spot. You won't really see that when the cover's on there. Anyway, you want to mark not this material but the inside, and that we already determined before that was 1 inch. So then what you're going to do is you're going to try and space it out to where each of your eyelets are going to be equally spaced. There's no formula to do this. You just kind of have to look at it. I just know that your signature is going to take up so much room, and I just try and split it 3 ways is what I do. So you'll have, enough space here and here. And then after you divide it up, you're going to make sure that your marks are equal on each side. I mean, you can just measure it out on each side, or you can take a ruler and go down and do it. That's how I did it. You can eyeball it. I mean, it doesn't have to be perfect, but the straighter the better. Anyway, after you've done that and you have your marks, you should have 4. 1 here, 1 here, 1 here, 1 here. Then you're going to use your tool. And like I said, I use the We Are Memory Keepers, and I know there's a lot of different ones out there. There's the kind that you can use with just the little hammer, whatever you'd like to use. And you know, you could do this without putting these in. I just think what's going to happen is it's going to rub back and forth, and it's going to deteriorate the paper or the book or whatever at some point. And if you do this, it should look better. And I was sitting there thinking about it. You could possibly maybe put some glue, like a good glue, like the 3-in-1 or Fabric Tack or something, to kind of keep it from fraying, and that might, you know, help too if you're not going to do that. Or maybe put some you know, reinforcers or something like that, and make sure you glue them down real good, and that might help. But the best thing would be to do this. All right, so anyway, we've got our holes, and we're going to punch a hole. And when you do this, you really need to use the bigger hole, because that's the size hole that these are. So I'm going to, and this will punch all the way through. That's why I said it was. Also too, you want to make sure that you're doing the hole not too close to the end, so that it, you know, can eventually break off, but you want it close enough, because the bands are going to hold your signature. So they have to be long enough to hold the paper in and not bend the paper. So you want it pretty close to the end, but then again, not too close. So it's just you wouldn't want to do it right at the end and then have the hole break through. So that's what you're trying to avoid. So we're going to do this and just punch our hole. You can see it right there. And we're going to punch it. And as you can see, it punches the hole. So I usually take this little tool and get the stuff out of there, because, I mean, you can punch it without that, but this way I can kind of line up the circle in the middle. Punch it again. Okay, so there's our two holes. Then you're going to put these in, and you're going to put the bigger side on the outside, because that's the decorative side. And then you take your tool, and this big part right here is what you put on the top, and you kind of get that in there. You line it up in there, and you try and hold it flat, and then you just squeeze. And it's actually pretty easy. It's not hard. And then what happens is it does this little thing on the other end. So that's kind of thick, so you can't really see it real well, but it did work pretty good. So then we're going to do the next one, same thing. I'm going to do that, put that in there. All right, so now we have the 4 of them in, and what that allows us to do then is to put our bands in. And yesterday I showed you the bands that I used on my other book, and I got these, I don't remember, I think there's maybe 8 of them in a package at the dollar store. And you take this apart and you thread it through and tie it, and then kind of, I put glue on the ends to keep them from fraying. Then you do that, and that will get you your bands, but you will have to cut them, otherwise you have no way to get them through there. They also sell these, which I'm going to use on this one because I think it kind of goes with it a little bit better. I'm going for kind of a more of a rustic type look, and I put 2 of them right here. So we're going to do that right now. We're going to do that part of it. I always try and find, if you can see where this is held together, and that's where I cut it, because, you know, that way structurally there's not, you know, you're going to be stretching this out. That way you'll be tying this back together And then the rest of it, there won't be an end that might come out later. So anyway, we're going to cut that in half. Right there, where it's put together. I'm going to do that on both of them. Let's find the other one here. This one has like 2 spots. Let's see. That looks like just some glue. Okay. So there's the other one. Now, I don't put the glue on the ends until I get done tying it. So, and I like them to go in there pretty tight because I want my signatures to stay in there pretty snug. You may have to use something to poke it through, but all you're really doing is you're going to be threading this. Now, I'll have to say this. You can have the knot on the outside. You can have the knot on the inside. It's up to you. The other thing that I thought about last night, what you could do if you don't like the way these bands look, if you notice I put the burlap on the outside, you could have basically just put the eyelets through and threaded the bands through before you put this last piece of burlap on, and then you could have put the burlap on top, and then you would not see the bands. They would just be seen in the inside. And that's something that I may do in another journal, show people how to do that because they may like it better. I personally didn't mind the bands being out there, but if you do that, then all you're going to see is just the burlap out here. And so for some people, they may like it better that way. I thought I would bring that up. So what you would do is you would just do everything we did in the first video, except put this piece on, this one piece of burlap or whatever covering you may want to put on there. It could be a ribbon material, or if you're putting material over all of the top, you may want to wait and do that last. And then that way you would be covering the bands, and you know, you would, now of course you would have to put that on after you put this in. So you're basically going to just forfeit doing the outside and do the inside, and have your bands would be sitting, and you, of course, you probably would not want the knot because the knot would be bulky, and then you would want to put something over it. And this burlap would work because it's pretty heavy and thick, but you would, whatever you put over here would have to be pretty heavy to cover it. You know, I just figured it would have some bumps over there, and I just assumed have it show. But you could do that, and then even if it was bumpy, maybe put lace or something on the outside. I'll probably do one like that just to see how it turns out and let y'all see it. But anyway, these go in here. You're going to thread them through. And I usually use this or some sort of pokey thing to get it through there because it's kind of thick. What did I use last time? I think I used this. This worked too. This is just a, because it is hard to get that in there. There we go. Poke it in a little bit so that gets that side. And the good thing is these are nice and strong, and if you tie it well and tie it off, I don't think they're going to break. All right. And this one's going to go through. You don't want to cut it to size before you put it through there because you want to have enough room to maneuver and work with it. And once you do that, it's pretty easy. But now, granted, the thinner elastic is way easier to thread through, but I just don't think it holds as tight on a bigger signature. Okay, maybe that one will work better. It's not going to go through there. There's some glue on the end of this and to make it kind of bulky, so maybe I'll cut that off and see if that helps. Yeah, it did. All right, so there is one. Now, when I did this on the first one, I did it, you know, this is pretty tight there. So that's why you don't want to just do it